Hi, everyone. Whether you're tuning in via Spotify, Amazon Music, or watching us, you're right on time for another insight pack episode of Xraised, where knowledge meets inspiration in the intricate dance of industry evolution. My name is Miles, and I'm bringing you once again a brilliant mind reimagining how law, tech, and innovation collide. Because today, we're turning the legal world on its big head. Now, some say law is slow to change, like glacially slow. But what happens when someone decides to add a jetpack to it? Enter our lovely guest today. From researching in the Labyrinth Supreme Court Library of the 90s to being the most influential CEO 2025 legal tech in Sydney, she's now building technology that gives even the busiest lawyers a perfect memory. Her words, not mine. She's here as she champions a future where AI doesn't replace legal minds, it rather supercharges them. With decades of courtroom experience, journal citations, and a Harvard Business School pedigree, she's rethinking legal research with AI powered speed and surgical precision. So, here's the bold and the beautifully AI empowered award winning barrister, co founder and CEO of MiAI Law, Laina Chan. Hi.
Hi, Miles. You know, when you were describing how legal research or law, the development of law works at a glacial speed, and I thought, oh my God, that's like the bold and the beautiful, where nothing ever happens, and then something happens, and then you said the bold and the beautiful, whatever, at the end of your introduction.
I have to do my
We must
job,
be
Laina.
spending too much time together. Anyway,
I think I know it very well now.
yeah.
Well, beautiful morning to you, Lena. It's, always a pleasure having you here at X-Rays. And our episode today is about something that's changing the legal landscape as fast as AI updates its models, the digitally augmented lawyer. So, starting with your game-changing platform, My AI Law, you've brilliantly said that legal research has evolved from library labyrinths to lightning fast logic. And I love that imagery. It's something really impressive. So, how exactly does my AI law give today's lawyers that edge? Not just in speed, Lena, but in the quality and integrity of legal outcomes.
Well, I can't tell you how because we're about to lodge a patent application. So for our model for the legal architecture and all the algorithms that I have written, but we're different because we are not just using a language model to go into a database to search, seize, and summarize. We're much more than that. We're a RAG-based retrieval augmented generation
Uh-huh.
model where we only search our own dedicated database. We retrieve the right cases that are on point for the research topic. It goes through the reasoning and the algorithm that I have written, and then it goes through the analysis, and then we generate the report. But there's nothing random about it. Everything has been changed into an algorithm. All the research processes has been changed
Uh-huh.
into a script, and then it's been embedded into our system.
Mm-hmm. So, retrieval augmented generation, you're giving lawyers a way to interrogate the law with a kind of depth that used to take days, I remember, not minutes. And with every footnote traceable, every citation hot link, I would say it seems about transparency by design. That would be
Yes,
my.
because we also reveal the reasoning process at the end of the research memo. So if you
Yeah.
run a deep research memo, run a deep research report on my AI law, we return the answers, which are reduced to first principle, and it's all cross-referenced to the cases and the legislation, and it's hot linked. So you can click on it and it'll take you to the pinpoint reference in the case. But then at the end of the report, for a deep research report, it sets out all the thinking steps that the machine went through to carry out your research. And I was talking to a lawyer from Baker McKenzie on Friday, and she ran through two deep research
Okay.
requests through the model. And as she puts it, it took less than the time for her to eat one piece of sushi before the research report came back. And she said that she had asked a junior lawyer to do that research for her and it had taken ages, ages and ages. She didn't say how long, but she goes, ages and ages and ages. And I kept saying, how long? And she just got ages to come back with the research memo. And then she looked at it and she kept saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is so amazing. This is so amazing. This is amazing. Because it was accurate and it had highlighted all the correct cases for her. And then she ran another question, and that was the same. It was correct and accurate. And then she looked at all the reasoning steps, and then she goes, all these reasoning steps are reminding me of all the reasoning steps that I should be going through myself if I was to do this research manually. So
Mm-hmm.
we've completely eliminated the black box. I don't tell you, of course, how I've managed to get the model to go through this
Yeah,
series
of
of
course.
reasoning steps, but
Mm-hmm.
it tells you that. And if you run the light research report, it also tells you the reasoning steps it goes through. And then it also shows you all the cases that it's pulled out of the databases at each step
Mm.
of the reasoning. So
Yeah.
I've just shared it all with you. So nobody can complain now that they don't know
Mm-hmm.
why the answer is so.
Well supported by facts. And how about autonomy, Lena? My AI Law's agentic AI can now independently search curated legal databases, right? So how do you see
No, it's
this?
our own database. It's only
Yeah,
searching our database.
yeah, your database. And how
Yeah.
so how do you see this transforming the workflow of, say, everyday lawyers, especially those in under-resourced or regional practices?
I just think that you won't feel so alone and isolated and panicked every time a question comes across you or your table and you don't know the answer to it because you can ask my AI and then it will give you the answer and send you on the right path.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that it will tell you what necessarily to do with the research, but that's where experience comes in. And then your experience as a lawyer will tell you how to use the underlying research to
Mm-hmm.
fashion your strategy to get your client the output that they're looking for, the outcome that they're looking for.
Yeah. Well, that's good actually, because for so long, great legal minds outside big cities have had to fight with fewer tools, for sure, less support and more pressure. And now, my AI law, you're giving them parity and power. And I'm also curious, Lena, how do you actually convince legal minds to embrace a tool like my AI, which breaks with tradition? It's very new to them, most of
But
them.
it's not.
Mm,
Okay. So when I was working for the judges, I think I mentioned this story before. I had to manually go around the chambers and pull down every single book
yeah,
and
I
write in
remember.
each book how that case had been treated. And then 2 years later, you got the one-click solution
Mm-hmm.
where you just run the case through Casebase and it gives you the whole list of cases, how that case has been subsequently treated and how it came to be.
Mm-hmm.
So my AI law is just giving you the one-click solution. It's automating the process that a lawyer with infinite capacity and infinite memory has to go through to research a problem, and it's just giving you a one-click solution, and everything is then done by the computer. All the logic and all the steps that
Mm-hmm.
it goes through is set out at the end, and all the research, all the cases is just it's just
Uh-huh.
very exciting. And then basically, whenever I show lawyers, there's always some kind of swearing that's associated with it because there's always this, yeah, they just can't believe the output. And then once they see the output, they're sold. They ask me to then, because I let them test it. And then they say, can you email me the memo? Email me the memo
Uh-huh.
and they're just very excited. And I find that maybe there's obviously some protective behavior going on because some people just don't want to believe that a machine can do something that can take a human being a day
Uh-huh.
or two to carry out the research, right?
Even faster. Way faster.
Well, let's say it takes up to 4 minutes, but it could take, I mean, because it scanned the entire database, so it can scan the entire
Mm-hmm.
High Court database and find the answers for you in 4 minutes and prepare your report. So I don't, well, a human can never go through the entire database. It's only for those people
Right.
with photographic memory who know what's in the entire High Court database who can do this.
Uh-huh.
And so that's like one I've considered the best silk I've ever worked with, Noel Hutley. SC, and he was giving me tips of what he wanted to see in my contract review feature. And then he goes, well, this is what he does manually every time he gets a contract. And I said, well, that's because your brain works like AI. And for the rest of us who don't have a brain like yours, we know what we're supposed to do, but our capacity is not as great as yours for you to be able to just do it so quickly. We need AI
Mhm.
to help us.
Mhm.
But I found that maybe some people that I know, maybe they've underestimated me all this time,
Really.
probably, that they cannot believe that I can do this. I mean, nobody else has been able to do this. So there's a bit of protective behavior, and sometimes they're reluctant to have a look. But then lots of people are not reluctant to look, they
Mhm.
test it, and then they're
Because they're
sold and
curious.
they want it for their company. So I've already got one company that's told me, a large law firm in Australia that's already told me that they want in, and so step one, they're just going to participate in our beta testing because
Mhm.
our full product launch is probably around 1 September,
Uh-huh.
but our beta testing is going to start in about a month or 5 weeks. And
Yeah.
so they're going to participate in that because that will help me also develop whatever features it is they want. And whole in-house legal teams of huge contractors they want in, and then all kinds of other firms and barristers around. So basically, once they see it, they're excited and they want in. And the other ones, just a very, and the courts, I've spoken to a
Mhm.
few judges in the family court, they're interested as well. So I think that the people who don't want to look at it and they are blocking their mind to it, it's just protective behavior. They cannot accept that it can be possible that
Yeah.
someone like me, I really think that someone like me can come along and provide the one-click research.
Yeah, and probably they're one of the few who hasn't seen our episodes, our previous ones, that's about AI won't replace them. It's actually gonna be boosting their ability to become a
Yes.
better lawyer. And I
Yes.
mean, why not? Because you're basically inviting them into a smarter way of working,
Yes, that's
providing
right.
a one-click solution. Why not? Instead of,
Yeah.
forcing disruption down anyone's throat. And that's
And also,
Mhm.
And also, clients do not want to pay for legal research. They don't want to pay for it. Their insurers, in particular, if they see the word research in their bills, they immediately say, we're not paying for that, which is absolutely quite ridiculous because they cannot expect lawyers to hold the whole database of cases and legislation in their head. It's just ridiculous. But
Mhm.
that's the kind of attitude you come across all the time in practice. And my AI is the solution to that because
Mhm.
it brings you up to speed, and then what you end up doing once you get the research is you have to analyze and strategically analyze that, and clients will pay for that. So
Mhm.
it's really taking away the grind, and it's taking away the what graduate lawyers hate about their job. It's
Yeah.
just helping them. But of course, we're going to talk about it later. We still have
Mhm.
to work out how they're educated so that they learn how to think deeply.
Right. And that's the best kind of disruption, Lena, when it feels so familiar and so necessary. People forget it's new. And it's like you didn't just win their hearts and minds, you outsighted them. And that's really legal elegance and engineering precision. So let's change the topic a little. I heard Sydney University is knocking at your chamber doors, Lena, and you've been selected to speak in the tech stream of the Australian Law Forum, right? So clearly,
Well,
academia.
that's two different entities. So
Mhm.
yes, Sydney University, the relationship manager reached out and she came and saw me last week because she said they want to follow people who are doing exciting things in the law.
Uh-huh.
And so we were talking, and she said to me, I just want the dean of the law school to meet you because I think she'll be really inspired by you. And we want you to come and talk to the students. And then I said to her, well, maybe you can be a guest. Maybe the dean would like to be a guest on our podcast. And she said, I think that would be great. And I assume she's gone
Mhm.
off to organize that. But I've also invited top educators in Australia to come and talk to us at high school and other university levels.
Mhm.
So there's a guy who's currently teaching governance.
Yeah.
in Gen AI at the Macquarie, I think at the Macquarie University Business School. He's agreed to come on.
Mm.
And then another principal of a high school, which he's always wheeled out by, I think, the New South Wales Education Department when there's a problematic school, and he goes out there and he turns it around and makes it amazing. But he seems to be parked now at Plumpton High School because he's just done such amazing things at that school.
Mm-hmm.
And he's uh, willing to come on and talk. So we really want to pivot the talk, our podcast, to the education speed, because I know that we need MiAI, we need the efficiencies, etc., that we deliver, but we still need to teach law students how to think deeply, because you cannot truly grasp a the law
Mm-hmm.
unless you really understand how it works at a fundamental level. I would not be able to write all these algorithms that I have written if I did not truly understand how the law works, right? And that
Yeah.
obviously has come not necessarily so much at law school, but subsequently when I was researching and writing all those peer-reviewed journal articles and researching on new areas of law, etc., and drawing patterns between all the different types of areas of law for my works. And it was only all that work that I've done in the last maybe 13 years
Uh-huh.
that is what is given me the ability to write these algorithms. So I write one algorithm that will cover all subject matter areas of law. And even my advisors say, oh, we can, eventually move into other areas of law. And I say to
Yeah.
them, no, my algorithm covers every single subject matter area of law. And so we've
Mm-hmm.
tested it against the Allen's Linklaters. Allen's has prepared a benchmark of 30 questions, but it's over 10 different subject matter areas in commercial law.
Mm-hmm.
And we've run MiAI, the model, through those 30 questions. We appear to have passed. We've benchmarked it against our human research. But yesterday I met with the two lawyers who are in Sydney, who one of them is in charge of their whole benchmarking. And he told me that the answers that they've seen are really impressive and they want to feature me in the next issue of Benchmark, but only if they can get LexisNexis and Westlaw to come on and participate in the benchmarking. And I don't know if they're willing to, because I've run all the questions, the 30 questions through the LexisNexis, Lexis AI database for Australia. I've run those 30 questions and the answers are, you can't compare the output. And so
Yeah.
I don't know if they're willing to, but it's just it's just very exciting that,
I know.
even once lawyers see the output, they're excited.
Mm-hmm.
And I posted on LinkedIn last night because Alan has invited, well, not invited, because I've openly given them all the 30 answers. The
Yeah.
light research report and the deep research reports, I've given them all to Alan's for them to look at. And I'm happy to be benchmarked. And people, I'm waiting to see if, if Lexis and Westlaw are happy to participate. But,
Yeah, for
if they
sure.
do or if they don't, I mean, it speaks for itself, right?
Mm-hmm. And for sure, they can't wait. I mean, with the academia noticing your innovation, and I assume you cannot sell to students yet. I don't know
No,
what's
I'm
going to
not
happen in
selling
the
to
future,
students.
but how do you see legal education evolving to prepare this next gen AI ready lawyer?
Well, I cannot sell to students. And
Mm-hmm.
when the relationship manager from Sydney University was here on
Yeah.
Friday, I think she was saying, and I do agree with her, that all the professors have to have access to it, right? They have to have access to it because how can they teach students to become equipped to work in this AI world if they themselves don't have access to the My AI tool. But I
Mm-hmm.
can't sell to students because then, they won't learn. They won't learn how to think deeply. And also it doesn't comply with my insurance obligation. So I can't
Uh-huh.
sell to students and non-lawyers
Yeah.
because one of my advisors was saying, oh, are you going to be making this available to non-lawyers? And I said, no, you guys don't know what you're doing. And it's too dangerous to have this
I
tool
know.
in your hands
It
because
seems very complicated if that's the case.
yes, no, I can't. I mean, everyone hates lawyers, right? It feels like that. They all hate lawyers. They don't value what we do. But the fact is, we do know something, my 30 years of experience does count for something. And so when senior counsels say to me, you're going to replace all lawyers, I go, why do you say that? Do you think that you are, on the same playing field as a grad who comes out of law school who can research? And he goes, no. It's just, but there's a lot of protective behavior going
Yeah.
on, a lot of
Mhm.
fear
The
when that is not our
tension.
aim at all. Because after all, I developed this tool to help myself. I didn't do it so I could put myself out of
Yeah,
business. I
initially.
did it because I just needed help in my legal practice, and I thought this is what I want to do.
Yeah. And that tension is real. Teach the tech and teach the thinking. My AI can show what's possible, but if students can't really unpack the why behind the answer, we're just producing citation parrots. Or, I
Or
mean,
maybe you can start with some reverse engineering. Maybe you can do some kind of Harvard type of education. We give you the answer. In
mhm,
some classes, maybe we had to give you the answer. And then you have to go through and interrogate it in the whole classroom.
mhm,
Everyone has to have interrogated and looked at the underlying cases that we refer to. And then they can all talk meaningfully in the class and debate why these steps were gone through and were these steps correct.
yeah, right.
Maybe that is the way of teaching it, Maybe that's how
Probably. Well, that's going to
because
be a neck at
either way, you're going to have to teach them how to think. You either do it from making them do it from first principles and do the research themselves, but
Mhm,
that is not the future, right? Because the research is going to be able to be done. Or you can give them the research things and ask them to critique
mhm,
why each step or why each case was highlighted and was it correct? And if not, why wasn't it correct? And what other steps should have been done? Maybe
mhm.
that's a better way of teaching it
I
because
agree.
the goal is to force them to think deeply.
Mhm, and not to be lazy.
Yeah, not to be lazy.
So, for our final stretch, Lena, what's your broader mission or vision for how this tech reshapes access to justice in real, tangible ways over the next maybe 5 years?
I just think that MiAI Law will help level the playing field, but you still need to know what questions to ask MiAI Law. You need to have
Prompting.
an understanding of the law in order to get the model to behave in the best possible way for you. So it will mean that the good lawyers will become great, the great lawyers will become even greater. It will just raise the standard of legal knowledge across the board. But I don't think it will not mean that the small second or third tier law firm
Yeah.
with the use of my AI become as good as the lawyer in the top tier law firm. It won't,
Hmm.
because you still need to know what to do with the research. But
Yeah.
it will raise the standard of everybody and make everyone better.
Hmm. Well, that's, I guess, a
And it
scale
will remove,
impact.
yeah, and it will remove the grind, which is the worst thing, right? The grind. It's so
Mhm.
painful.
Well, bottom line, that's the dream, Lena. Raising the standard, justice that's informed, efficient, and equitable. So because when technology removes the grind, as you said, leaves the standard and democratizes insight, you're actually redefining what it means to serve.
Just the last point, I was speaking to this professor of intellectual property, I think from King's College, and he said to me, you can't automate everything. For example, some of the tests in the law require the just and equitable outcome, and
Mm,
that has to be left to the human being. And sometimes you have to decide whether or not something is a substantial copy of something else. And he doesn't think the AI can answer those questions.
yeah.
The just and equitable, yeah, probably. I mean, the AI can parrot, it doesn't really understand emotional intelligence or anything, right? So it will just look at what has been decided to be just and equitable. And at the end of the day, a human has to come along and put
Mm,
in that human in the loop, and say, okay, yes, this to be just and equitable, this has to happen. I agree with him. It always has to be the human has to make that kind of decision. All the
mhm.
AI can do is summarize what in the past has been considered to be just and equitable in various factual scenarios.
Right. Well, what a great chat once again, Lena. So, folks, the legal field is being redesigned responsibly and intelligently. Thanks to leaders like Laina Chan, AI isn't replacing judgment, it's reviving it with better tools, which is my AI law. So, if you're in the legal space or even just legal adjacent, you're going to want to explore myai.law because they're creating tech that's secure, verifiable, and astonishingly practical. So thank you so much again, Lena, for being the
Thank
brilliant little
you.
mind, bridging centuries of law, centuries, with tomorrow's tech.
True.
So,
It's
I
true.
mean, a lot of data, I can't imagine. So thank you so much for giving me the pleasure of hosting our conversation every time.
Thank you. Thanks, Mel. I love talking to you.
Thank you. Oh, you
Because
can.
you make me think so hard, and then I have to think and think and think and
I
think
don't
and
think so. It seems like a
I
walk in the
do.
park for you.
No, no, no. I have to think really hard. And then
Oh,
it's really helped fine-tune my thinking over the last 20 episodes.
that's unfair. You make it look easy. Well, to everyone tuning in, thank you for keeping X-rays in your rotation. We'll catch you in our next episode. This has been your host, Miles. Stay focused and inspired with X-rays.